Didn't have the microphone on. So, well, this is Friday. So thank you all for joining us on Stay Curious. I'm Mark Marquette, and we're so glad that you're with us today. We've got a jam-packed program of some space history, and at the end, we're going to talk about the Russian Nauka space lab that's at the space station, and they've had some problems with it, and the great dean of space writers, James Oberg, has written a commentary about that I'm going to share with you at the end of this Stay Curious program. But first off, talking about, in case my microphone was off, over here is a 1970s era concept of the space shuttle, the space transportation system. Look at those wings there. Isn't that cool? That was one of the original designs. That's, of course, the VAB, and the over here's the launch control, famous icons there at Kennedy Space Center. So thought you'd enjoy looking at that today while we talk about space news and looking back in history. First, looking back in history, this is usually Tales from the White Room on Fridays with Triple T, and he's been under the weather, but he's turned the corner and feeling a lot better. I talked to him this morning, and so you can give him a shout out on his Facebook page. His name's Travis Thompson. Or you can, we did a little hello to him on our Facebook this morning. So Triple T, good health to you. He's getting better, and hopefully maybe he'll be here next Friday to bring you Tales from the White Room. But I'm going to bring you some tales from space history, and first up is this photograph. And we've got Alexis Dames has liked the stream. Okay, that's thank you, Alexis. Whatever that's about.
Something we were testing yesterday.
Boy, this is going to be a great show today, folks. I'll tell you that. So here is a state-of-the-art photograph of Hurricane Cleo as it's hovering towards Miami on this date in 1964. And Jessica, we live on the Space Coast. We're in the hurricane weather. They wouldn't even show this on the news. The weather guy would. It's so poor of an image. Today, you've got all these amazing images from the most state-of-the-art weather satellites. But this was quite groundbreaking. I think it was Tyros 3 satellite that showed us this image. But interestingly enough, Cleo struck Kennedy Space Center on this date in 1964. For 6 or 7 days, there wasn't electricity. The National Hurricane said that this was a Hurricane 2, that when it hit Miami, it was a 1. And it went up about a 40-mile wide strip from Miami to Melbourne. All right, that's 30 miles south of our museum here. And cut power to 600,000 homes and businesses. And a quarter of the grapefruit crop was lost within the Indian River citrus producing region. So also, Cleo in 1964 caused the Fort Lauderdale Times, one of South Florida's biggest newspapers, to miss publishing, the only time that happened in history. So a significant hurricane in 1964. And of course, we didn't have the preparation, the knowledge of everything that we do today to be ready for such things. So thought you'd enjoy sharing that history. And we have a happy birthday shout out today. Happy 63rd birthday to this cosmonaut, Sergei Krikalev. And a lot of you space enthusiasts know Sergei Krikalev. Ranks third all time for time in space with 803 days. Folks, that's 2 years and 3 months that he's been in space, all right, on 5 different missions. And he famously was in space on the Russian Mir space station when the Soviet Union collapsed. And so he was a man without a country, literally. And or they say he's the last Soviet citizen, because when he came back from Earth from the Mir space station, that was 1991. All right, so that's 30 years ago. Imagine that. He's 63 today. He's been involved with Houston and NASA on a lot of missions. Krikalev and Commander Bob Cabana turned the lights on in the space station in December 1998. And then Krikalev spent Expedition 1 and Expedition 11 as commander on the space station. And we're going to hear a comment about Krikalev and what has happened with our space station and the Russian science module that docked and then spun the station almost out of control. stay tuned. We're going to get his opinion on that from a piece. Like I said, James Oberg, the great science space writer, has a piece on that I want to share with you. So happy birthday, Sergei Kirkilov. I'd love to meet him. He does come to America quite frequently. I'll bet Robert Law in Scotland may have met him. All right.
Watching on YouTube.
Great. Hey, Robert, how's the YouTube connection? And here I wanted, by way of reminding you that in 1974, Skylab 3 was orbiting the Earth and just ending their 30th day of 59 days in space. This gentleman passed away, a Skylab 4 commander. Unfortunately, Jerry Carr died last year on August 26th. We missed Jerry for a year, and we wish his family well. He was 88 years old, and one of the few rookie commanders. He was the commander of Skylab 4 that was in space for 89 days. And so we wanted to acknowledge him, and also this great Skylab program was operating right now, orbiting the Earth in 1974. But in we're going to segue to 1985. This crew,
Hey, I like that year.
51I. You like 1985? Would that be when you were born, Jessica? All right. 1985, those old 80s. That was quite an era of music and MTV and all that good stuff. So you're like an MTV baby.
I am.
All right. Well, here's our astronauts that were in space 36 years ago on August 27th. It is Commander right there on the lower left. And if I can, I'm trying to get used to this. Yep, there we are. That's,
We can flip it.
no, you don't need to flip it. That's good. That's Joe Engle. And we celebrated Joe Engle's birthday yesterday. He's 89. So the day after his 79th birthday, and I'm lifting up Joe Engle's handprints that we showed off yesterday. This is how the American Space Museum was founded, was these handprints. And you can see Joe's hand and my hands are about the same. All right, I'm going the other way around there. And he's a little bit about the same as mine. You'll find a lot of astronauts of our 30-some astronaut handprints at Spaceview Park are smaller than normal. It makes sense. The smaller you were, the better it was to get around that spaceship. But happy birthday yesterday, and then I'll bet he's thinking about that mission 36 years ago when the day after his 53rd birthday, he commanded what was a true vision for what the space shuttle was. It was the 20th flight of the shuttle. It was... I'm going to increase these guys if I don't play around with it a little bit. Oh, there we go. I took that away. Sorry. I went there. There we go. They were the 20th flight, the 6th one of Discovery, and it was one of the most perfect missions. Up to that point, it was the most perfect mission and one of the best ones of all time. Why? Because the space shuttle in 1983 was envisioned to be a space truck taking up all the satellites and experiments. In fact, NASA said, put your single stick rockets away. Everyone's going to be lined up to put stuff in space in the shuttle's big 40-foot cargo bay. Of course, that didn't happen after Challenger accident, and it was a lot harder to turn these around, and they were overlooking some of the problems, and Challenger happened, obviously, in 1986. But this was a really cool mission because they deployed 3 satellites, communication satellites, and then they hand grappled a satellite to successfully repair it. And the astronauts were pilot Joe Covey, Richard Covey's over here on the far right, and then the upper left-hand corner's James Van Hoften. They called him Ox. In the middle is Mike Lounge. Those are the two that did the spacewalks, 2 spacewalks. And Bill Fisher is in the upper right there. He was married to Anna Fisher. That was his one and only space flight, by the way. And here is Ox at the James Van Hoften hand grappling what was that satellite? Not important, but it was a communication satellite that they brought in the cargo bay and then went out for a second spacewalk and fixed it. So deployed 3 satellites and fixed 1, and boy, NASA thought they were on the roll now with their space truck to space station. After all, STS stands for Space Transportation System. And this F51-I, the 5 means it was the fiscal year 1985. Fiscal year now, October to October. And the 1 means it was launched from Kennedy Space Center. 2 was going to be Vandenberg. So 52 would have been launched from Vandenberg, but it wasn't, of course. And I is sort of like A, B, C, D, in the numerical order that they were launched. And or this was formerly the STS-27, which they didn't always launch in order that the missions were numbered due to various things. Could be changing crew, changing payload, problems with the payload, problems with the orbiter. So thought you'd enjoy that part of space history today. But next we're going to talk about what happened, and I'm going to reach over here and bring into view here. Ooh, the magic of all of this. Thank you, Jessica, for all she does. The magic of our space station here. Back in the beginning of August, the Russians launched a much anticipated new section after getting rid of the Pirs dock, which was called Port. The Nauka, Nauka, Nauka. I got to learn how to pronounce that. Nauka. Nauka was docked to the International Space Station in one of these ports over here. And when it docked, about 5 hours later, it started its reaction control thrusters started firing and moving the space station. Y'all may have heard of that, but y'all may not have heard of that it actually flipped the space station 1.5 times around. All right. And this necessitated other reaction control thrusters on the space station moving around, using their exhaust propellant to try and counteract this motion. And things like the solar panels were moving around so that they could adjust to the sun angle, because that's what they do. They change to get the maximum sun. Well, and not much more was said about it. Well, James Oberg says any hopes that the space agencies in Houston and Moscow had for tamping down public concerns over the International Space Station's recent tumble in orbit were lost last week as new revelations from Moscow confirmed the worst-case rumors, and those rumors were confirmed partly by Sergei Kirkorov, whose birthday we just celebrated. I told you the tumble was caused by an inadvertent thruster maneuvering after the Nauka Russian research model called MLM by NASA, but it became clear that this module was in crisis long before it docked. And James Oberg writes in the IEEE Spectrum website this report. And believe me, James Oberg, when he speaks, everybody listens. His first book was in the 70s called Red Star in Orbit, establishing and addressing some of the concerns about the secret Russian program. Did they kill people in space before Yuri Gagarin and all that? And Oberg is just a fabulous writer, written many books, but he's been on CNN and other science channels as authorities on stuff. So I'm quoting his words. Nauka had problems with the Kurs rendezvous system and the propulsion emergency confirmed by European Space Agency and not NASA. There were hardware issues that included accidental leaks across the propellant pressure barrier and acquisition of real-time docking systems and valves opening and closing from command. And we're talking about this spacecraft right here. Oh, I see there. It's kind of in the way there, so I'll move it out of the way there a little bit. Talking about this Nauka there and there. I think that'll work there. This is what it looks like attached to the International Space Station. It's very roomy, about the size of a big trailer. I would say a double wide trailer. So they had problems before they docked with the space station. They didn't tell NASA. They thought everything was fixed. And then Sergei Kirkorov, whose birthday we just celebrated, he said this in an interview. The former cosmonaut, who's the executive director for manned programs of Roscosmos, which is the NASA of us, is called Russia's NASA is called Roscosmos. He says this, Kirkorov does. The module apparently itself could not believe that it already docked. So when the control system of the module was reinitialized, the control system decided it was still in free flight and not docked. and not understanding what was happening for safety, an algorithm triggered turning on the motors. This, of course, should not have happened. There's a commission now examining the reasons for this. The station is a rather delicate device. Everything was done as lightly as possible, and the additional load causes a load on motor drives of the solar batteries on which everything, and on the frame of which everything's installed. This is an emergency situation that will need to be analyzed in detail. There are probably no damages, nothing broke off the station, Kirkaloff said. I can reassure you that the astronauts are safe, but the extent to which we have loaded the station, what are the consequences? It will now be assessed by experts. And when he means loading the station, when you move something in space and other things are trying to resist it, other reactions, the International Space Station is very flimsy. And for better use, I'll use this paper to show that from one end to the other, there is some buoyancy, okay, like that ripples through. And there's been many incidences of people working on their 2-hour-a-day bicycle and being asked to stop because at the other end, an experiment was going on, and the rhythm migrating through the space station was messing up the data. So this is a very serious situation, James Oberg has reported. And but NASA, the crew members, no one's talking about it, their public traffic. There's no public traffic about the incident at all. But here's a clincher. In October, Russia's going to launch, or planning to launch, a crew of 3. Well, the 3 cosmonauts on there 2 of them were replaced by a film director and photographer and an actor who are going to do a movie on this very module that we're looking at right here, Nauka. James Oberg says that on this Nauka, aside from that this is a first of its kind movie project that has been developed, and the scene lists of the script people have seen are tailored specifically to the Nauka module. Nauka contains the living quarters for extra visitors, a lab unit to simulate an in-space operating room. The movie's main theme, they think, is surgery in space or an emergency surgery, and high-quality viewports of windows for spectacular image of the Earth below. So stay tuned more for that. In other words, the Russians didn't put just a science station. They put a film studio in space so that they can capitalize with entrepreneurs making money to their Nauka that is now at the site of the International Space Station. So hope I whetted your appetite to find more about that. As I said, James Oberg wrote those words on it's capital I, capital E, capital E, capital E, Spectrum was the website that somehow I fell across that on there. So, Jessica, good job today. We have any comments or questions from our dedicated followers out there on our Stay Curious program?
Some love to Triple T, some YouTube comments from Robert and Troy.
Oh, great. Good. We're happy. Christopher Mick, I heard from him in Wisconsin.
You just
and
commented.
And good. Sylvia Monaco's hopefully watching in Melbourne. And Melissa Pope we heard from the other day, didn't we? Jessica and I tried to visit you, Melissa, and your team at the Space Coast Office of Tourism, but we'll get in there one week. And I'll bet the USIAC brothers are watching from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And thank you, Michael Gunzel, also, I hope. And I say Ophelia in Normandy, France. All right. We hope you're all having a great day wherever you are, and have a great weekend across this world of ours. Yes. Oh, and we want to remind you, next week we're really going to take the gloves off of monetizing our program, and I'm hitting 5, but it's not doing me any good there, Jessica. Your logo here, your face, your dog, your animal, we're going to create and have created a constellation of donors, and we've got $10,000 and counting for our first constellation. You're not going to believe what this young lady, Jessica Galloway's come up with. Here's her business called Cheap Development, Hatching Dreams into Reality. And so we can say enough about how she's helped our show here. I'm an old coot and sometimes resist the changes, but she'll pound it through my head eventually. Mwah! Love everything you're doing for us, dear. And our main problems, folks, are the computer is so overloaded, but we're waiting on those Chinese to make our new computer. We hope it's on the way. Parts are sent. Good. We're, but thanks to a great contribution to our funds from the Marie Louise G. West Endowment has given us a significant endowment that allows us to buy a computer to keep up with everything. And that's what it's all about. And sometimes frustrates me the most but we're getting there. Done almost 400 episodes. So enjoy this beautiful retro look. I posted it on our Facebook page. Share it with your friends out there. That's how Jessica's helping us monetize our social media. So
2,000 more likes on our Facebook. That's our goal.
All right, we're looking for 2,000 more likes. That put us over 10,000. We're about 8,600 followers and 8,200 likes, something like that.
1,000 on YouTube and 50 on Twitch.
YouTube's growing, and we got Twitch out there too. So, like I said, this is all new stuff, and we're glad to bring it to you. We're happy to bring it to you, and well into our second year now of helping you stay curious. So, until next Monday, when Stargazer Mark is going to talk about Venus, I'm Mark Marquette, and we'll see you Monday to bridge the space between us.